is here now. The power of now is here now. The power of you, me, is here to create magic on earth.
Welcome back to the Mastering You podcast with Natalie Newhart. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's get to work. All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. I am really excited to talk about today's topic, which is going to be about burnout. I think that it's just something that a lot of people are experiencing right now. And it tends to be, a lot of my clients come to me point in life where they're just fed up. They're just at a point where they're tired, they're burnt out, they're exhausted, they're tired of living in the same cycle over and over and over. And whether that be with diets or the gym or work or just their life, like just seems to be on repeat all the time. Um, yeah, this is it's all like bringing us to a point of like pretty much exhaustion of just kind of like wanting to give up. And so we're going to talk about, what burnout is, kind of like if you were to Google burnout, what is that, right? But most importantly, we're going to talk about why it happens, and even more importantly, how to fix it. This might be a 2 episode kind of, like podcast, just because there's so much information on this. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how long we go and go from there. So, all right. So, what is burnout? First off, so I believe that all of us have experienced some form of burnout in our lives, each in for various reasons in various spaces of our lives, for various lengths of time, and so it can be, like I said, it could be like gym burnout, like exercise burnout. It can be diet burnout. It can be a work burnout. It can just be general life burnout, like just the daily, experience of life. And what burnout is it's really a form of, like I said, just exhaustion, which is caused by constantly feeling stuck, constantly feeling overwhelmed, constantly feeling uh, swamped with stuff to do, really feeling like mentally, physically, or emotionally just in a hole, right? And and so what it usually stems from is, it can be like grappling with the emotional toll of just like trying to do it all, right, for too long. That's typically the most common one. But there's also other forms of burnout. So, and actually, before I even get into it, I was just looking at some statistics the other day online because I'm just kind of starting to like work specifically with people with burnout right now that are experiencing burnout. And so I'm just writing some posts and stuff, some emails, blogs, stuff like that around burnout. And I saw a statistic saying that 89% of Americans are burned out. And I think this was a year ago, so 2023. And they reported that women were with the higher percentages than men, right? So I think it was like 54% were women of that 89%. So it's definitely, I mean, it's always something that's going on in our life, right? Um, and it can really take, like I said, a real mental and emotional toll and physical toll on our body if we don't really understand what's causing it. And burnout is, in my opinion, burnout is not the same as stress. I feel like burnout is the result of stress in our life for over a period of time, right? So if we've been stressed for too long, stress is that precursor to burnout if it just goes unresolved, okay? Um so it always, like stress is important, right? It's important. Stress is important because it challenges us. It's just like the gym. It's like we don't want to just like not ever do anything challenging for ourselves, right? Because then there's no growth in that. So, and so it's a balance point. Everything in our life, if like, that's the one thing I'm always going to come back to, which is why I have that yin yang symbol for my self mastery program. It always comes back to that center point, that middle point, that balance point of work and rest, like finding that middle ground of, okay, I push a little and then I rest. I push a little and I rest. And what, it's like doing too little isn't good for us, um, challenge wise, whether that be in the gym or just with life. And also too much challenge, doing too much isn't good for us, so too little leads to boredom, leads to depression, leads to just feeling stagnant in life, leads to lack of purpose, leads to lack of energy as well. Whereas too much stress, like I said, it's not good, right? There's too much challenge, too much output, and that leads to exhaustion and physical breakdown of our body. Um, not able to enjoy life because we're always in a constant chase of getting somewhere, doing something. Um, so too little isn't good, and too much isn't good, and really actually burnout can I was actually just when I was researching burnout the other day, I learned that burnout can happen in both ways, right? Burnout can happen when we have too much, like the most common burnout. But I guess burnout is also something that can be caused when we have too little, like when we're too under challenged. And I've actually experienced both. So, so yeah, that kind of brings me into like the different types of burnout. There's, like I said, the number one is the too much, right? Like the overachiever, the overload burnout. The second one is the under challenge type burnout. So not doing enough. So the over challenge, like the overachieving type of burnout, that occurs when, this is going to be like the more popular one, especially in our world, um, like in our Western world. And that occurs when we're always like trying to achieve some sort of outcome, achieve some sort of success, achieve some sort of accomplishment, um, or we're always constantly trying to give ourselves to others, to do things for others, to feel important, to feel needed, to feel loved. And that results in us just constantly outputting our energy, working harder, 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 never taking a break, over giving our time and energy to people. And this can occur in any area of life. It can occur in the workplace, like just taking on, so many hours, taking on so many clients, taking on so many jobs, so many responsibilities, and more than what you're really capable of, holding, or like sustainable, that is sustainable of holding, and or like is also just more than what is it's yeah, it's too much. Like you just you tip that point, right? It's like that, it's not that balance point. So eventually over time, you'll find yourself in that place of burnout, in that place of exhaustion, if you're not finding that middle ground, if you're not finding that yin yang kind of center balance point of work and rest. So this can be somebody who's like, working 60 hours a week in order to achieve some sort of success, or accomplishment, or somebody that's, just putting in a lot of hours, taking on way too many responsibilities at the workplace. And even if they love it, like I have a client that actually I was just talking to, she loves her job. Like she loves what she does, but takes on way too much. Like it's not sustainable for her body, or even like her mental, her mental wellness, her mental well-being. So it could be something that you enjoy, or it could be something that you don't enjoy, right? And so if you don't enjoy it, burnout's going to happen even much quicker. And because it's like, anything that you don't enjoy is going to feel 10 times harder. So it's going to require 10 times more effort, 10 times more energy. And so you'll burn out faster. Whereas if you love it, it's like, okay, that might give you some energy, and like, you can hang on to whatever you're doing for a bit longer, but eventually like you cannot, like, the body's always keeping score, and there's no way of like manipulating it or hijacking it, or what do you call it? Like people say, like biohacking it, you know, like you really just got to pay attention to what is too much. And you only know that by, really going over the edge and realizing, oh, that was too much, right? And just constantly learning. So, anyway, so there's, the overload burnout. Again, it happens everywhere. It happens in the workplace, like I just talked about. It can happen in the gym, where, in the gym would be an example would be like just working out for too long, or too hard, at an unsustainable pace or an unsustainable workload. So an example of this, which, man, I've had burnout in every single part of my life. So everything is an example. Like everything I talk about, I don't talk about it unless I have experience with it, um, and or have coached people on it. Because it doesn't. Yeah, like I can't. It's hard for me to really share my wisdom if I haven't actually experienced it. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. So in the gym, that would be an example of like forcing yourself to work out for a certain amount of time each day, right? Regardless of how you feel. It's like, oh, because of the plan, it's on the plan. I'm supposed to work out today, so I'm going to work out today, even though you feel like shit, right? And man, I can't, I, I'm still battling this, right? I mean, I've come so far, but this is a really common one, at least in the space of health and fitness. Uh, Yeah. And it's, eventually we hit a point where we feel just so exhausted, right? And because from just pushing ourselves to either follow a plan or routine, stick to the structure, to the schedule, because we've placed, well, we'll get into that in a bit, but yeah. And so what happens is we just eventually, the body burns out, right? Because we're not listening. So that would be gym burnout. You can also experience it like in diets, so just, I'm talking about this because I come from the dieting world, and this is also really common, like just being super strict with your diet, having certain like strict rules around what you can eat, when you can eat it, how much you can eat, tracking macros, like over analyzing everything. That can also cause burnout. So it can be an example would be like, oh, I have to fast for 16 hours, and I have to track my macros. I have to hit 150 grams of protein and 100 grams of carbs of fat or whatever, right? Um, and like there's like just the overanalyzation of it that causes burnout. And also not to mention that over control of like, oh, I can only eat at these times, or I can't have carbs, or I can only have these foods or whatever. That sense of like over control is actually what leads us to going out of control. Right? So when we're trying to control and stick to these certain rules all the time, not only does it burn us out mentally, but physically we will go out of control. We will like binge eat, or just feel very impulsive, like compulsive eating, feeling like we can't control ourselves. And so what happens is we like lose trust with ourselves, because again, we overate like more than we needed, or we just kind of felt out of control. And so because we don't trust ourselves, we go back to like the strict plans or the rules, right? Only to repeat the pattern over and over and over. And so you can create like physical burnout, right? So yeah, it could be like a mental burnout or a physical burnout or emotional when it comes to dieting, right? So that's just another example. And then also, of course, you have like life, right? Um, just daily life. Like, and this is so broad, but anyone who's just like to do it all, add to their to-do lists, trying to get as many things done in their day, trying to get them done as fast as they can, trying to juggle everything and manage everything in life, like the kids, the work, the house, finances, the body, like family, everything, right? Um, and so we can just get burned out on that, right? And like, yeah, like that's like part of it is life, right? Like just juggling all this stuff is kind of like, you got to honestly like just kind of laugh at it all, because if you take it too seriously, that's what is going to lead you into burnout, because there's so much pressure, right? But um but yeah, I mean, it's just like it's something that we all have to do is learn how to manage it, but like learn how to just relax in it, how to flow in it. But the issue is making everything. It's not like the juggling part, right? Is not the juggling of everything is not that like pressure that you put on yourself. It's making everything your responsibility and frantically trying to get it all done ASAP. So it's like creates like this frantic, chaotic energy of needing to do everything, and everything is like so important. And it's just like Jesus, ugh, like just me talking about it, I can feel it, like the way I used to feel all the time. It's just like so draining. It requires so much energy. And out, man. Just see, it's like it's so quick. It can just like actually occur in your body so quickly that like you just when you notice it, you gotta like, all right, release, go. But yeah, eventually, when we're in that kind of frantic energy, it requires so much more energy for us to do stuff, and eventually our energy burns out, and we'll run out, and we find ourselves burnout, right? And we find ourselves burnt out with like all the burnout symptoms, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, so I've like these are just some examples, right? And I've had experience with all of them: gym, diet, life. Another one is like relationships as well. Like you can feel like you're just sort of like, oh, like I just don't want to deal with anybody, right? And that is typically going to come from a place of or like for example, it's just like yeah, like just not wanting to be around anybody. Um, and it will typically come from a place of like doing too much for others, right? Making other people a priority over yourself. Um, and and there's some other reasons which I mean I actually don't really want to get into because I think I'll get into kind of a long rabbit hole. But I just want to like share that it happens everywhere, right? Burnout happens everywhere. Um, and the problem is not the food, the gym, the work, or the to-do list. As where that's what a lot of people want to tell you. A lot of people just want to say, "Oh, you just got to like get a new partner, you just got to get a new job, or you just got to you haven't found the right diet, you just got to take this pill, you just got to take an anxiety pill, like whatever, right?" And we tend to believe that because it's the easier way out. We think like, oh yeah, that sounds nice, well I'm just going to change this thing. But it never works, right? It may work we might find some relief for like a week or maybe a month or something, but we'll ultimately find ourselves in the same pattern. So I'm sure we all know that person that has like jumped from relationship to relationship or jumped from job to job only to find themselves saying the same thing, right, over and over. Gosh, like my job is so stressful, or gosh, my partner never cares about me, or gosh, I can never find anybody, and I can never find a partner. Or no diet works for me, or like whatever, right? So that's where we realize that, oh, I mean, hopefully you realize that that's that's kind of funny, like I keep saying the same thing and I've changed all these things. It is not the thing. It is the thing that it's my internal dialogue. It's the way I think and feel. It's my pattern that I bring to every single job, that I bring to every single diet, that I bring to every single relationship or whatever. Okay. So this work is just, I freaking love it. I like love it and I hate it because it's hard to see and like, overcome and like deal with, but it's so enlightening. It's actually like because it's the way out, because those other um, you know, pieces of advice of like just go on vacation, just take this pill, just do this different diet or whatever, like that shit doesn't work. So it's relieving to know that I can really change this pattern for good if I just learn how to look and do the work on myself, right? So that was like the first burnout, the overload burnout, the overachiever, like the doing more, right? And the second type of burnout, which is not as common, but I've definitely experienced it, is the under challenge burnout, right? And this is a burnout from just like doing too little, right? So it's like it's the opposite of overload. So it occurs when you feel bored or purposeless in life, not motivated, not stimulated. And it could actually, for me when it happened, it was after I had it was after I had experienced the overload burnout. Like eventually I was just like, I stopped and I just didn't want to do anything. Right. And that was with work, with the gym, like with diets, like I just let everything go. Right. And, and yeah, so it can occur in all the same places, so it's like the work, maybe it's like you feel really, it feels monotonous or unfulfilling, lack of growth. The gym, maybe it's like the gym is just, again, monotonous, boring, too easy, not challenging enough. Maybe with diets, it's just like there's no care for your body, no care for what you eat, how cooking your food and stuff like that. With life, it's like there's like, the under challenge burnout is like there's nothing to do. There's no meaningful connection or emotional quality in life. Like there's no richness in life. It's just kind of like empty feeling, maybe a lack of purpose, feeling aimless in life. So that would be the second kind of burnout. And just like some things to watch out for, like signs to watch out for, if you're a high achieving, like the overload burnout, so like you're a high achiever is just like you probably ignore how you feel mentally, physically, emotionally, to fulfill whatever that task is. And again, we're going back to that overload burnout. Maybe you invest an unsustainable amount of energy to achieving your goals, and as a result, you endanger your well-being. You sacrifice your health. Um, Also, another sign if you're an overload type of burnout or a high achiever is maybe you invest more than is healthy, in your commitment to your goals and your ambitions. And maybe you also have a hard time resting. Like those are all just like signs that you're, you know, probably going to fall into that overload burnout. And when it comes to the under challenge, it's just going to be the opposite. It's like maybe you don't invest any energy, right, to achieve your goals. Um, and as a result, you endanger your well-being. Maybe you don't invest, maybe you rest too much, you don't challenge yourself at all, right? Maybe you are kind of loathing inside your mental and emotional thoughts of like how I'm so sad and why nothing works out for me, like signs or yeah, signs to watch out for the under challenge burnout. Okay. So, um, yeah, those are the different kinds of burnouts. There's another one that I read about, but I don't really want to talk about it, just because I want to talk about more. And so, what does burnout actually feel like? I think it's important to just kind of go over that so we just understand, like what I mean. What the most important thing to really understand it really doesn't matter, right? It's like if you don't feel good, something's off. Like that's to get all freaking fancy about it. It's like we should feel good every single day. And if there's something that's disturbing us from feeling good every single day, whether that be mentally, emotionally, or physically, like that's your cue that something and needs to be tended. Like it's not, even though it seems to have become the norm for us to just feel stressed all the time, we've accepted like that's just like that's like what how we should be living. It's not. It's just that we've made that the norm, and it's the reason why so many people are not happy or just don't feel well, that are having so many issues with their body. Okay. And it's like if we don't listen to those little tiny cues of like the small headache or the small ache in the back or in the shoulder or in the neck, or the feeling of like anxiety or overwhelm or sadness. Like if we don't notice these little tiny things, what happens is they just continue to grow bigger and bigger within us, and we either implode or we explode. And implode meaning like we find ourselves in kind of like that under challenge burnout, like just like we feel depressed, no energy, like just purposelessness, or or we find ourselves exploding, right? So it's like we feel we're trying to be so busy, we're trying to work harder to try to uh, get rid of this sadness or to distract ourselves. So burnout doesn't happen immediately. It's a gradual process that builds up and gets worse the longer it goes unaddressed, the longer that these little feelings and these little physical symptoms go unaddressed. And the signs and the symptoms are going to be subtle at first. Um, and if they're not caught early on, like they can lead to complete breakdown mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so, and this is what happened to me. I don't know if you guys have seen my that picture that I have posted a lot with my face all puffy and just looking terrible. Like that was an extreme burnout in all the areas, mentally, physically, emotionally, right? And it like the signs to look out for is like a feeling of tiredness, like a feeling of exhaustion, a feeling drained, feeling like just low energy, like you're running on empty, you're running on fumes, like everything just feels like it requires so much more energy. Like things that used to feel fun are just like now a chore. Um, Workouts that used to feel fun are now like super hard. There's going to be like distancing yourself from others, like a feeling of like just feeling creating disconnect in life, like real low uh little depth in your relationships, like everything's pretty surface level or superficial. um Physical symptoms will occur like headaches, stomach aches, bloating, digestion issues. Foods that used to eat that never gave you problems all of a sudden are giving you problems. You've got joint pain, tension in your muscles, decreased thyroid, or imbalanced hormones. You'll experience maybe weight gain or inability to lose weight, right? So all these are all signs to look out for that, like you're reaching that point. And it's funny because this is where people think like, oh, I just got to do this thing. I just got to like change my food up. I just got to like lose, or I just got to do a different, or I see a different partner, right? Or I just feel like I need to sleep more or something like that. And like I said, that'll work for like a little bit, a short amount of time, but eventually we'll find ourselves just recreating the same pattern. Um, there's also like, like I said, no enthusiasm for life, that's a big sign of burnout, inability to perform well at your job, not even wanting to go to your job or not even wanting to go into the gym. um Possibly like an inability to be present with your family, like your body's there but your mind isn't because you're just so tired. um there can be feelings of defeat or failure or self-doubt. You may feel like you're all alone. May feel like there's like you're like there's a lack of purpose in your life. There can be a lot of times like a feeling increased feelings of judgment, right? Being cynical, judgmental, dissatisfied, incapable. And you might find, you'll often, a lot of times we'll find ourselves eating, like we'll go to food or alcohol or, weed or some kind of drug to soothe ourselves or like take a pill or something like that. You may find yourself sleeping more, or getting sick often, just from the body breaking down. So these are all just signs to look out for, So that's going to be like what burnout can start. That's when that's what it feels like. That's what it looks like. And it matters because if it's not addressed early on, it's going to lead to worse situations, right? It's going to, I mean, not only just like complete unfulfilling life, but it's also going to result in the breakdown of the body at a much faster rate. So, and this is what dis-ease is, right? It's the body being not at ease, dis-ease. It doesn't even have to, it can and will most likely go to disease, but it'll start off with just kind of like these smaller symptoms, like, hypothyroid, autoimmune issues, the headaches and stomach aches, all that kind of stuff, right? So, and nobody wants to feel like that, right? Like the we all the what I just keep coming back to and realizing is the only thing that matters is feeling good. Like I want to feel mentally, physically, and emotionally good. And that just means a feeling of at peace. I want to feel good in my body. I want my body to feel strong. I want it to feel capable. I don't want anything in my body to disturb me from having a good day, mentally, physically, emotionally. Quick interruption. Hey guys, Natalie Newhart here. If you resonate with my message and would like to learn more about how to master your behaviors, create peak vitality in your body, and live a more effortless life, then click the link in the show notes to set up a 30-minute coaching call with me. On our call, we'll take an assessment of what's standing in your way from becoming your best self and the steps to overcome them. Okay, back to the show. And so if we want to live a good life like that, then we have to take good care of ourselves. Okay. And that leads me into the next topic, which is how do we fix it? You know, well, or prevent it, right? Usually preventing it isn't, people aren't going to like be all gung ho about preventing it because usually it's the pain of being in it that causes us to change our actions. But if you're not in that pain, if you're not like feeling completely unhappy in your life, chances are that there's not enough motivation to change anything about your life, right? The pain is our greatest motivator for change. And so it's honestly, I was actually just taught, I had a girl email me recently about how I wrote an email about burnout. And I just kind of pointed out on like to everything that I've pointed out here on this podcast. And she was like, oh my God, I feel like you totally understand me. And uh, she was just, I think she just said, I'm in so much pain. Um, and she just was thanking me, I guess, for the email, for understanding where she was at. And I wrote her back and I was like, the number one thing you can do right now is be in that pain. Feel the pain, feel the hurt, feel how hurt you are, feel how bad you feel. Because what we're told to do is to not feel it. We're told to just take this pill or just tell ourselves it's okay, everything's going to get better, right? Like it's, like it'll pass, like this feeling of burnout will pass, or the feeling of sadness, or the feeling of, you know, I don't know, hating your life or hating your body is going to pass. And if you go that route, then like you're running you'll never change, right? Because you're kind of like, oh, like it's going to be fine, right? I'm just going to take this pill. It's going to like, or I'm just going to distract myself. I'm just going to work more, instead of really understanding and feeling the shittiness of the life that you're creating for yourself. Because that shitty feeling is going to be the thing that's like, it gets you to that point where you're just like, something's got to change. I got to freaking do something. I've got to turn my life around. And if you don't get to that point, then it's typically like you said, like I said, like there's not enough motivation to go out of your way to change your patterns, to look at yourself, to, to really invest some time and energy into changing your life around so that you no longer live that life. So I often tell people that, I often feel more compassion for people who are not in enough pain than the people who are in a ton of pain. And what I mean by that, like, I feel more compassion for people that are like not living great, but they're not super unhappy, right? It's like they're like, well, life's like not great, but it's not terrible, right? Because then it's like, well, their whole life is probably not going to be great because it's not bad enough. Whereas when we get to that point where life gets like just so bad, so unbearable, like just, whatever that looks like to you, we all have our own, like levels of like what we're not willing to tolerate. And it's when you get to that point where I remember like, I was just like, dude, I got to change. Like, this is it. I'll never forget like the moment where that came to me and I was just like, this is it. No more. Right. And that's like, that's the beauty of the pain. It's like, it course corrects your life. It's like an instant, I've got to do something different. And from that point on, life is different. I mean, not like dramatically, obviously it happens slowly, but so that's why I was just saying, like, the best thing you can do if you're in this place is actually feel the pain, like really feel the shit that you're living in and how unhappy you feel and where you're going if you don't do something about it. Like what your life is going to look like in a year from now if things just continue to stay the same or get worse. So, yeah, so that would be like, number one, that would be how to fix it. Like number one, right? Is like feel that pain, because then that's going to motivate change. And then number two, we have to understand, why is it here? Like, how am I creating this in my life? Because, we tend to think like it's my job that's so stressful, or it's the fact that, my family really needs me, or my body's like, there's something wrong with my body or something like that. And none of that is true, right? We're the ones that are causing it. Like many issues, people try to fix it by taking a pill, going on vacation, getting therapy, changing their jobs, changing diets, changing workouts, changing houses, changing partners, moving, whatever. And like I said, it works for a short time, but we end up just finding ourselves back in that same pattern, creating burnout again and again and again. Okay. I know, because I've been there. And so that's because the problem lies within us. It's a result of the way our inner patterns of the way that we think and feel about ourselves, that is driving us to overwork and overgive ourselves or overdoubt ourselves or whatever. Okay. So the three things that actually cause this this burnout is going to be, number one, lack of self-worth, number two, lack of self-love, and number three, a lack of mental and emotional management, like the skills to manage yourself, manage your mind and your emotions. So number one, lack of self-worth. You have to ask yourself, like, if I'm doing all these things, I'm causing this burnout on myself. Why am I, like, what is driving me, right? What is driving me to work so hard? What is driving me to do it all? What is driving me to be the fixer in everyone's life? What is driving me to the field to be my best or to be the best, right? What is driving me to be the fastest? What is driving me to be the hardest worker? What is driving me to make, X amount of money? What is driving me to have some big business? What is driving me to have a certain body, right? Skinny, or, to look a certain way. Like, what is driving me? You really have to ask yourself these questions and really, like, it's not like a question where you're just like, oh, what's driving me? Oh, it's just because I love it. Or like, because I want a nice house. Like, no, that's like the surface level answer. You can't, like, that's not going to give you anything. Okay. You got to go deeper. You got to, and what I mean by that is you got to sit with yourself and really feel into, what is driving me to not give to myself, right? To not take good care of myself. And you sit with yourself and you just be curious, right? You just like, oh, I'm just going to take some time to really reflect and just try to understand myself. Because obviously, because obviously I'm doing this, right, for a certain reason. Like, I keep repeating it. Why do I keep repeating this behavior? What is it about me that causes me to do this to myself, to put myself in this situation? And, so it's like really asking yourself those questions. Um, why do I try so hard? Why do I try to do it all for everyone? Why, like, just even like, why am I working out? Like, just simple questions, right? Because only happens burnout only happens when you're not really truly doing it for yourself. You're not really truly doing it for a means to, because it's what you want to do and because it's you want to feel good, right? So doing it because you truly want to, right? It's not so much the workload as it is the energy that's driving you to do that thing that you tend to bring yourself out with, right? So it's like we never get burnout when we're just doing what we love in any moment. If we love like painting or dancing, or something like that, we can dance hours on end and not get tired if it's like truly what our body and heart is wanting to do in that moment. But it's in the moment where we don't feel like dancing anymore and we force ourselves to dance, or it's in the moment where we really don't feel like working out and we force ourselves to go against our own desire, right? um that's when it becomes 10 times more taxing, because we all have that workout that we've done that's like, god, I love this workout, this makes me feel so good, right? And you could do that same exact workout on a day where you feel like crap and you force yourself to do it. You don't really want to go to the gym and do that workout. That and all of a sudden it's like just mud. It just feels so heavy. It feels so hard, right? And part of it, yeah, is mental management, right? But a lot of times there's like a feeling of I need to, right? It's when we tell ourselves, I need to do this. I should do this. I have to do this. And whether that be, in the form of like eating a certain way, exercising a certain way, or working a certain way, or, just doing daily tasks, whatever. When it becomes something I need to do, we are no longer doing it because we want to. What's really driving us at this moment in time is a need to feel enough, a need to feel safe, right? I need to feel to be seen, a need to be important, a need to feel loved, a need to feel liked. That is what's really driving us, which is why we go against our own will. We go against our own heart. It's coming from a place of I'm not enough unless I'm the best. I'm not enough unless I'm the smart. Not enough unless um, I'm the prettiest or the most successful. I'm not enough unless I'm needed. Um, I'm not enough unless I'm important. Like I'm not lovable unless I'm the fittest. I'm not lovable unless I'm the wise one, the smart one. I'm not lovable unless I am fixing other people, if I'm giving to other people, right? Therefore, I'm not lovable unless I'm the hardest worker or something like that. And so therefore, I need to do it. I need to go against my own feelings. And we stop from we don't listen to ourselves. We force ourselves. It requires more energy when we force ourselves, and we burn out, right? And it can also be like coming from a place of I don't feel safe as well, right? I'm not safe without doing this. Therefore I need to do it. So it's like I don't feel safe of, not working out, of taking a day off. Therefore I have to work out, right? But it still comes from a place of like I have to work out because I'm only lovable if I look a certain way, right? By other people or by myself, whatever. So it's like our worth and our love is placed on this image. Or, I was just talking to my client. She feels safe when she is the smart one. Like she's intelligent. She's very highly intelligent. And there's like this identity that she's built around about her being intelligent. And she is intelligent, but there's like this identity of like, I'm only lovable when I'm intelligent, like I'm the smart one, because then people go to me for answers, and people want to hire me, or people want to, also seek me out for help. You know, and also like there's a feeling of safety of, um, her, like she also likes to fix things, right? She likes to go and fix things for her friends and stuff like that. And what happens is, everybody just wants to take from her. But there's a feeling that she's not aware of, that there's like a feeling of safety of like I'm only lovable if I if I help others, if I'm fixing all these things at their houses, right? Like their washing machine or their lawnmower, their fridge, or, installing cabinets or something. I don't know. Like she does all this stuff, right? So it's like there's a feeling of I'm needed. I'm safe when I'm smart. I'm safe when I am gifted, in all these skills. And what it does is it ends up having people surround her that want things from her, and her giving her energy away. Okay. So what happens is we neglect our well-being when this happens, when we are doing these things from a place of I'm not enough without this. I'm not lovable unless, I'm only feel safe when I do this thing. And we neglect our well-being. We neglect how we feel to feel safe, to feel enough. And that's when we start to feel like shit, right? That's where we start to we'll start to get those physical symptoms and mental symptoms that I was talking about earlier. Okay. And we find ourselves in that phase of burnout. And what happens is because we don't realize what's causing it, we just continue to create our reality. We are the creator of our reality. So we continue to create this overload, this, overworking, like always giving to other people, over exercising, like uh, yeah, just all these the burnout in all these different areas of our life because we're not taking care of the root of the symptom. Okay. And one thing I just want to say is that we can't just like think positive thoughts. We can't just think like, oh, I'm enough. Like, I love myself. I'm worthy. You can't just think these things, even though it, like, it's funny because you go on Instagram and there's all these like quotes of that kind of stuff, right? And like, yeah, they're nice and all. Like, it's a nice reminder. But if you really don't believe it, if you're not really truly embodying it, that shit doesn't do shit, right? Like those quotes of, oh, well, I love myself, like I'm enough, like that doesn't do anything. It actually makes it worse because you're kind of covering it up. It's like you're lying to yourself. So you like really think that like, oh, you're doing the work, but you're not, because you're not actually, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not saying no to people. Instead, you're continuing to overgive. You're to continue to overwork. You're continuing to do all these things, instead of putting yourself first. Okay. So instead, you really have to do a full upgrade on your self worth so that you stop abusing yourself. Right. Um, and you have to feel deserving enough, right? You have to feel deserving of love, and care for yourself, so that you stop putting yourself in these situations. You stop creating this reality for yourself. And this is literally what we do inside the self mastery program. Like, the first phase is self worth, like, really building up and strengthening your self worth so that you don't find yourself in these, situations where like, your mind hurts, or your body hurts, or you're emotionally sad or something like that. Okay. So that's the first, phase one, just how to fix it. Phase one. Phase two is self-love, right? The second cause, there's like a lack of self-love. So, once you've rebuilt your self-worth, then it's about learning how to honor yourself, learning how to treat yourself with love, how to stand for your boundaries, and really like take care of yourself, learning how to slow down how you feel, listen to your body, learning how to tune in deeply to how you feel, what you need and what you want on a moment to moment basis. Okay. And so this takes some time because, uh, we really we've forgotten how to love ourselves, most of us, in a world that's constantly teaching us how to treat ourselves and abandon ourselves and abuse ourselves by not listening to how we feel and seeking our love and our worth through doing things and accomplishing things and looking a certain way. We've totally like it's pretty crazy. It's like it's so freaking crazy. We've totally like yeah, like just we don't even know how to take care of ourselves. It's pretty interesting. It seems like other things are more important than actually feeling good. Making more money is more important. Looking a certain way is more important. Um, like having a bunch of likes is more important. It's just so interesting because we all have the same amount of time in our day. And it's like, how are you using that time? Are you giving it to other people? Are you giving your attention to other things like social media and Netflix and other people? Or are you giving that time and energy and that attention to yourself so that you feel good? And I think, a lot of times people think, well, isn't that selfish? And no, it's, selfishness is just the judgment of people who are deeply disconnected from taking care of themselves. So selfish people usually aren't going to feel good because they're constantly they don't have they don't feel deserving of taking care of themselves, you know? So they're always giving themselves to others. Like you can only give the amount of love to others that you actually have for yourself. Otherwise, you're just like pouring from an empty tank. And it's not like, it's like you're just doing love. It's not true love, right? It's like you're just doing things. I'm just going to like do these errands for you. I'm just going to give these things, get these things for you. Or, you know, like, but it's not true love because you can't, you don't feel good. You know, there's a certain feeling, like a certain transmission that happens when you feel good around people, like certain people, you know, like we all have like those people that like, man, whenever you're around them, you just feel good and you want to be around them. Like it just makes you feel good. And the only way like that's the best thing that you can do for people is help them feel better, not like by, you know, run into the store for them or buying them a gift or, you know, I don't know, like fixing their house or something like that. It's like, can you help them feel good? Like really enjoy life and feel good about themselves, feel loved. And like, you can only give that when you have that for yourself. So the second stage or the second step to really fixing this burnout, number one was, you know, rebuilding your self-worth. The second step is rebuilding your self-love, learning how to love yourself. And like I said, it takes some time to reconnect and remember what that is like. Okay, because oftentimes nobody's taught us that. You know, depending on how you were brought up, like it's a forgotten frequency in most people's lives. Okay, because we've been so focused on the outside, right? Like the things I should do, how I should look, what I should, you know, have, and all these things, right? So it's bringing the focus inside. Then the third step or the third cause of burnout is really developing mental and emotional management skills, right? So um, if you don't know how to manage your mind and your emotions, you're you're gonna get burned out a lot easier, right? And so what I mean by that is when your day isn't going as planned, when it's not going well, the way you'd like it, according to your schedule or whatever, or when someone judges you or fights you or triggers you or pisses you off, or if your body doesn't look the way you want it to look that day, you know, or whatever, or it doesn't feel the way you want it to feel that day. That it's in that moment where we need to learn how to manage our mind and our emotions in such a way that don't spiral into a feeling of anxiety and stress and overwhelm, and a feeling of not enough, a feeling of not feeling important, or not feeling loved, or not feeling safe, right? So it's like there's so many different examples here, but it's like, you know, if your day is not going as planned, or your day gets thrown off, instead of like going into full out anxiety, which is something that used to happen to me if like I couldn't get my workout in, or if like, I don't know, if something, I don't know, like if I got like a flat tire, if like something just interrupted my day, you know, and I had all these plans, like a perfect plan for the day, I would freak out, man. I would just like freak out. And I wasn't in control, right? Like it's like this emotion would get turned on, and because that emotion would get turned on, like my whole body would contract. I'd get stressed out. My mind would start racing. Um, I would turn to food to self-soothe and comfort myself. I'd, you know, talk to people a certain way. Like I'd be very reactive, create disconnection in my relationship. Like the whole day was just shit, right? If something happened like that. So it's like I had it's funny because I like would try to control everything, but the thing is, as soon as something interrupted my day, I'd feel out of control, right? Because I wasn't the one in control. My emotion was then in control. And it's like then I would have to, because I didn't know how to manage my emotions, I just had to wait till the next day for me to feel better, or wait until everything just settled down, right? Where it's like now it's like, oh, shit can happen, dude. Like, you know, like like a storm can happen any day, right? And it's often does happen, you know, and it's like it's all good. Like yeah, shit's going to happen, right? Can you be the eye in the storm? Can you be calm? And this takes practice. Like it's not just like thinking like, oh, I'm going to just be peaceful. You have to really learn how to allow yourself to go with the flow of life, because that's just life. Like life is up and down. It's not some like perfect steady state. And it's learning how to just like let go of control, which I think I did a podcast on, a while back. The more that you can let go of that control, the more at ease you actually start to feel. But that takes there's some mental and emotional skills that are part of that, right? And another example is like if you don't get your workout in, like there's like for me in the past, it's like there was a feeling of fear that would come up, a feeling of not feeling safe. If I didn't get my workout in, oh my god, like you know what if I gain, what if I get lazy, or what if I gain weight, or what if I eat too much today, or whatever. I'd just be living in this state of fear all day long. And that because I let my mind go to that place and my emotions go to that place, it created a particular reality for me, meaning that I only felt safe and happy and at ease if all my boxes got checked off, right, during the day. Meaning like I worked out, I did my morning routine, I hit my macros, like all these things had to get checked off in order for me to feel safe and feel at ease. Um, so it's being able to like, and that's exhausting. That's what causes burnout, right? Is like this need to control, like everything has to be done a certain way. So we have to learn, there's some mental and emotional skills that need to be developed in order for us to let go of that need to control so that we can just flow, like just allow life to happen. Yes, we do our best. We have certain like structure of like what we'd like to do, maybe, like moving your body in some way every day, but it's like the need for it to be a certain way. Like, oh, I need to work out every day for an hour or for this intensity or, whatever. It's like we have to let that stuff go. So it's like a balance. Again, it comes back to that yin yang symbol of like, okay, it's like this learning of how to move with life as opposed to trying to keep it in a rigid way, right? Because again, like that's going to cause burnout. So we need to learn how to develop certain emotional and mental skills so that we can identify when we get thrown off and we start freaking out, right? When things don't go our way, or somebody upsets us or something like that, something happens to us, we can keep our cool and it doesn't just totally shut us down or, shake us. Instead we become unshakable in peace. We become unshakable in love. We become unshakable in just feeling good mentally, physically, emotionally every single day. And the funny thing is like those are the things that are actually going to lead you to everything you want. It's pretty cool, so it's like, it's when we're stressed out and anxious and overwhelmed, frustrated, that's when we find ourselves going to food to comfort ourselves and soothe ourselves, or it's in those times when we're stressed out, anxious, overwhelmed, angry, whatever, sad, like it's in those moments we perform well at our job or we don't create good relationships. It's in those moments where like yeah, uh we don't feel safe or we're living in fear, like that's where we create disconnection and um we're we just kind of constantly maybe like spin in circles, good clarity, we don't have creativity, like everything is so much harder, right? So it's hard to achieve your work goals, your body goals, your diet goals, your relationship goals, your life goals of just being happy when you don't feel good. So we have to learn how to develop the mind, or manage the mind, and yeah, develop certain skills in the mind and our nervous system so that these things don't have power over us. We can take our power back and really be the creator of our reality by learning how to take our power back, of our mental and emotional power backs. So that's the third cause, and the third phase of the self mastery program. So these are literally the three levels that we actually do inside the self mastery program. So level 1 is self worth, level 2 is self love, level 3 is self mastery, meaning the mental and emotional skills. So this is everything these are the keys. Like, these are the keys to everything, guys. Like, these are the keys to living a good life. These are the keys to building a good body, like a strong body. These are the keys to building good relationships, like good, like a fulfilling career. Like, so it always seems to come back to these three things. The deeper I go into it, these are the answers. So that's going to be it, guys. If you have any questions, like, always feel free to reach out to me, email me. Like I say in my, like I've mentioned before, I do a free 45-minute consultation call for those that are interested in learning more about the self-mastery program or learning about working with me. And yeah, that's going to be it. So the links are going to be in the show notes below. Much, much love. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Mastering You podcast with me, Natalie Newhart. I hope you're feeling more empowered and inspired on how to master your mind, your body, and your life. If you don't want to miss your next training with me, be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you consume your podcasts. And definitely connect with me on Instagram. I'm natalie.newhart on Instagram. Much, much love to you all. Until next time.
The power of love is here now. The power of now is here now. The power of you, me, is here to create magic on us.